What was the role of women in the revolution? Number one, they marched on Versailles. So women on Paris courageously marched on Versailles to present the people's grievances to the king. We talked about that, and demanded. They also forced the monarch to move to Paris, and again demanded for equal rights with men. They fought for equal rights with men. The Olympe de Gouges wrote the famous Declaration of Women's Rights in 1791, which women would enjoy equal rights to property as well as public office, and also formation of political clubs. Women, they formed the political clubs, which helped the spread of revolutionary ideas among them. So one of them, or the notable, was Jean Roland. So we see women, they also played a vital role in the revolution. They also organized protest by working class women. Working women often protested and fought in the street battles whenever their rights and interests were threatened. For instance, in July of 1794, the Jacobins were succeeded by Thermidorians, and the new government made laws that prohibited petitions and political clubs or groups. Women again petitioned and protested. So another example was on the 1790 law that required a clergy to take an oath of loyalty to the state. So they protested and demonstrated, that is, women, they did that. Also, they participated in non-combat activities during the war. So women participated in non-combat activities, non-military activities, whenever the war, there was war. So they were making tents and clothing, which were to be used by soldiers in the war. So they were taking part in the war, not in the battlefront. Also fighting alongside men in the army. So through leaders of the revolution did not approve, although the leaders of the revolution did not approve women in the army. However, many fought alongside men whenever whenever there was war between their country and the other countries. And also women attended many meetings and participated in the attack in the National Convention. And also they provided their husbands and sons with moral support. So they gave their husbands and sons moral support to forge ahead with the revolution. They supported their families. And they were cheering up the revolutionary leaders in the National Assembly. So we see the role of women there. Reaction of the revolutionaries to the involvement of women in the revolution. So women, however, met some setbacks. As the revolution progressed, their rights to express themselves in the public came under attack from the authorities. Like in 1793, a committee of National Convention declared that women had lacked the moral and physical strength necessary to practice the political rights. Therefore, women met a number of things. Women's revolutionary clubs were banned, and also those women who violated the ban were arrested and imprisoned. Also, some women were even beheaded. Olympe de Gouges and others, Marie, we talked about them, they were also beheaded in 1793. Now let us look at Napoleon Bonaparte. We said that he once overthrew the government of the Directory. Napoleon Bonaparte was born in 1769 at Ajaccio in the island of Corsica in the Mediterranean Sea. So this was soon after it was soon after the island was taken up as a territory of France from Italy. So his father was Carlo Bonaparte, a lawyer, and his mother was Marie Letizia Bonaparte. So noticing his natural ability and intelligence, his parents enrolled him in the military academy of Brienne at the age of 10. He completed his course at the age of 15 and he went back to Corsica. But when he fell out with the rebel leader Pesquera Paoli, he was forced back to France and adopted the French version of his name, that is Bonaparte, that is from Bonaparte. He quickly rose in the ranks of the French military and became the brigadier at the age of 24. So in 1795, Napoleon, he led the soldiers against the French royalists who were attacking the National Convention. So for this, he was thought of as the savior of the French Republic, because he was seen to be leading the things that were to the direction of the people. Therefore, when the government of Directory became unpopular, the houses backed Napoleon Bonaparte, who seized power in the Brumaire coup d'etat of November 9, 1799, thereby removing the government of the Directory. Then Napoleon assumed dictatorial powers. So he became a dictator after he became the leader. Then Napoleon carried on with the revolutionary wars against European countries. The Napoleonic Wars continued the wars of the French Revolution until his final defeat in 1815 at the Battle of Waterloo. So when he came to power, now he continued with the revolutionary wars to defeat other countries, now to say, you wanted to come and crush us, now we are going to defeat you, until he was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. Let's look at his role, the role of Napoleon Bonaparte in the French Revolution. Number one, restoration of peace in France. So within a year, his rule, Napoleon, he ended the wars between France and several European states and brought about treaties that would give France and Europe peace. So he restored peace in Europe. And also spread of the revolution to other parts of Europe. So Napoleon helped to spread the revolutionary ideas to other parts of Europe in the conquered countries. So Bonaparte, he set up republics based on the French republic system or republican system. For example, his legal code was imposed in the new republics. And also, he established the consulate in 1799. He overthrew the weak directory and became a leader of the three-man governing board known as the Council, which took over the leadership of the revolution. So when he became the leader, he established the consulate, whereby they were the three people, the leader of the three people governing of the governing body. So he was one of the three people who were governing, but he was on top of that governing body. And also codification of the laws. Bonaparte ordered the rewriting of the French laws. So the new laws ensured uniformity and equality. So there were 7 codes of law in total, but the most important was the civil code, which was called the Napoleonic Code or Code of Napoleon. So according to the Code of Napoleon, everyone was treated equal before the law. So the court provided for the trial by the jury and religious tolerance. However, the code was weak in certain aspects. So the Code of Napoleon said everyone was equal before the law. That was Napoleonic code. So it had some weakness, that code of Napoleon. So some parts did not promote rights of other people. For example, firstly, male head of households were given complete authority over their wives and children. Another weakness was that it's valuing order and authority over individual rights. That is valuing order and authority over individual rights. To say this one is more valued than the other. Like to say, okay, the male is more valuable than the female. The divorce law made difficult for women to obtain divorces and made women less equal than women. The property inheritance law also weighed in favor of sons while neglecting the daughters. Inheritance to the side of sons and not daughters. Press freedom was also limited as Napoleon shut down 60 of the 73 newspapers in France. So 60 newspapers no more functioning. Also, a new system of government of administration, that is the bureaucracy. So before Napoleon, the country was divided into departments or provinces, but he set up a centralized and bureaucratic state system. So under this system, promotion was based on ability only. So Europe soon copied his mode of governance. So we see another contribution of Napoleon there. And effected economic reforms. So to address the deteriorating economic conditions in France, Napoleon controlled prices, encouraged industrialization, also established the first bank in France and built roads and canals to improve transportation. So he also effected the economic reforms. On education, again, he made important reforms in education. For example, the state-controlled schools were increased, and Napoleon, he built also technical schools in order to improve the industrial sector. So he established also the University of France. So Napoleon Bonaparte, he was a dictator, but he made some economic changes there on education as well. He also improved things. He also boosted the spirit of nationalism. So success made by Napoleon enhanced the spirit of nationalism in France as people celebrated the glory and success of their countries. So the people, they started to be patriotic or loved their country. And the restoration of relations with the church. So in 1801, he signed an agreement or treaty with the Pope, that is the Concordat. So this agreement recognized the Catholic Church, the oldest enemy of the revolution, as the religion of the majority of French people. So we see to it he signed an agreement, although during the revolution, the people, they hated the Catholic Church. You can remember now, you can recall the estates, the estate system, the class system there. People on the top, they were the clergy, hence they were hated by the majority because of their luxury lives that they were leading. So in return, the Pope then agreed not to ask for a return of the church lands seized during the revolution. Other religions were also recognized. In the end, the Concordat strengthened Napoleon's position. So we see to it that the majority of the people were Catholics, and later on, with that agreement with the Pope, then his position, Napoleon, it was strengthened. Now let us look at the contributions of the French Revolution to the modern world. Number one is the Constitution. The French wrote a constitution which became a model of the constitutions used by many countries in the world today. So the Assembly came up with the idea of separation of authority. The king was the head of the state, the legislative assembly, they made the laws. So just as our Malawi is the same, the president, the head of the state, and the laws are made by the assembly or the parliament. And the tricolor flag, revolutionaries, they designed a three-color flag of red, white, and blue. So many countries today have developed three-color flags, which express devotion and nationalism. So usually in many countries you find that there are three colors in their flags. It all started with the French Revolution. Individual rights also is another contribution. National Assembly passed the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen in 1789. So this was the document that gave individual rights to humankind. Similarly, the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Rights in December 1948, which almost every country today is obliged to follow. That is the human rights. So the Bill of Rights has been included in the constitutions of many countries. All this reflect the influence of the French Revolution. And also separation of the church and state. So the Christianity policies of 1793 led to strict separation of the church and state. So this also is also true in several countries in the modern states. Today, the church and state, they do not have the same powers. The church, they run their powers separate from the state. So it all started with the French Revolution. The judicial system also. The Civil Code of Napoleon remains the basis of the French law. So in addition, most European legal systems they have been influenced by the code. So the Napoleon Code also remain in use in many countries. So the fall of feudal system as well. The French Revolution promoted equality as ideal for all citizens, hence forcibly eliminating the traditional rights and the privileges of the aristocratic class, the upper class, the class system, the landowners. So European nations, they followed the example of France to end feudalism in a revolutionary way. So they ended feudalism, a system whereby people own land and they share that land to others in return for the service or for payment of the produce, of the farm produce. The idea of nationalism also is another contribution. The French revolutionary principles were exported and imposed on much of Europe, which led to the rise of nationalism. So nationalism was one of the key principles of the revolution, and that people should think themselves as citizens and have as their highest and only source of identity the nation state. So the idea of nationalism still was started by them, the revolutionaries. They contributed a lot. Even today, many of the countries, they fought for that nationalism. When we talk of independence, we are fighting for independence in Malawi until we got independence. Now and again, when we see there is bad leadership, people come together to fight for their countries. The idea of revolution again. The French Revolution was the source of inspiration to radicals all over the world who wanted to destroy absolute leadership in their countries. For the past 200 years, revolutionaries have regarded the French Revolution as the model. Even in Russia, China, Cuba, they were inspired by the French Revolution. So whenever there is a revolution, still more, we take that element of the French Revolution to say, if the French did it sometime back in the 1700s, we can do it even now. There is no time for someone to hold the absolute leadership to say he can do everything, he can dictate things on the people, or he can steal from the people. There is no time for that. So people, they rise up now and again. Now, to this far, we have come to the end of the topic. As you can see, it has been a hectic, a long topic. So the idea behind it was to know the inside of the revolution, because today we talk of the revolutions happening. So if we know what happened or the stages that happened in the French Revolution, even today we can stage a successful revolutions. Sometimes you see people starting a revolution and it just ends just like that. Why? Because they have not understood the French Revolution. So this one, it is a very long topic, but it is a very, very important topic. We have to know everything, what happened in the French Revolution, so that when we talk of change, to say we want to rise up and change, what did the French do? So follow everything. It is really long, but we have to know it. So it has been long. So I know you need to take some breaks as you do it, like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes until you come to the end for you to understand everything. You cannot just follow this lesson from the beginning to the end just in one sitting. No, then you miss a lot. And the secret behind it is repetition. You repeat again, repeat again, repeat again, then you find that things will go on well. So here with me is the exercise. So you pause here and copy the work here and answer the work. So as usual, you are going to send your responses to this number here, which is on WhatsApp, or the email address that is here as well. So remember, as you have been doing, answer these questions before you go to the next topic. So in the next lesson, we are going to look at nationalism and independence movement in Ghana. So having looked at the revolution, we are going to look at nationalism. We have said that one of the contributions of this of the French Revolution is the nationalism into the modern world. So what happened in Ghana for them to fight for their independence? So we're going to look at that. So this one is another wonderful, wonderful topic. But you know what? It's already on DVD. All you can do is pick up that call and call me to say, give me that nationalism and independence in Ghana. Immediately, I'm sending it to you instantly, and you are going to follow it. As you go to school, you learn at school, at home again, you repeat the same thing. So these things, they are very, very important. Don't neglect them. You repeat them, especially the French Revolution. It is something that is very, very, very long. So maybe in school, there are so many aspects that you need, that you may be skipped, but you can repeat now and again. So till next time, thank you so much.
Simutaya nthawi yanu kufunafuna maphunziro muzakhala wotumidwa moyo wanu wonse. Ngati simuphunzira anthu azingokutumani ajala kalime ajala kuchwe manyazi ajala katende yanti ndipo anthu ophunzira wandu wotuma so kwambiri. Ndiye ngati simuphunzira skulu akuyikirani apa mukhala otumidwa.